Obviously, before we went to break, we had read there's a lot of comment and feedback on Facebook, and most of it just grateful for is some kind of balanced view around the proposed amendments. But as we wind down now, I know you did say that you would really ask the colleagues in UPND to maybe abandon this. Yeah. But also, I think for me, there's a question that everybody's, and I must say that in the coming weeks, we are going to continue talking about these proposed constitutional amendments, because I think there are many voices outside of yours that also need to be heard. And maybe there are many other views around these things, which I think Zambians are entitled to hear. But I do want to ask this question, State Council. In your opinion, the proposed amendments, Tidina Matenda Bwanj, amene ma amendments as ala posha, marwere inshitu ala posha. Ni vichani valubana vamene which we're going to consider now, because we have seen that here there's this gap, here there's this problem, here there's this challenge, and these 13 thematic areas are going to address these things.
Good. Let me answer that question by giving an analogy. If you have two people neighboring each other, and in one house they have a patient suffering from COVID, in the next house they have a patient who is suffering from flu. Okay? And there is only one ambulance to pick up one of the two patients. Which patient should be picked up first? The COVID one, of course. He faces a much bigger risk of dying than the guy who is suffering from flu. We have the Constitution, which the UPND says must be amended. On the one hand. On the other hand, we have this myriad of problems, economic problems, that on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, affect the livelihood of the people. They face an existential threat to whether or not they will be there tomorrow or the other day. Which one? Where does UPND place its priority? Certainly on economic development. They have already done something so far. Why do you want to divert your attention from the good that you have already achieved to, again, I call it a non-issue, which you can deal with even after 2026? I said earlier, Patricia, that one of the things that the Zambian people have always found in the constitution making process is bad faith on the part of those that are in power. And once they read that, like now they keep on asking questions. Why now? Why is it a priority now? Why can't it wait? What those questions mean is that you are not doing this in good faith. And once they develop and come to accommodate this perception that this is not being done in good faith, you are wasting your time how many people you are going to put on ZNBC to debate this matter. Waste of time. We saw this under Chiruba with his third term bid. How many pastors came to State House trying to convince the Zambian people that they are depraved, and God had said to them that Chiruba must be given a third term. The Zambian people said, you are doing it in bad faith. Our answer is no. Big no. So, you ought to learn from history. If you are going to burn your history books, you can't be an intelligent person. There's nothing new that UPND is doing which has never been done in the past. History. And propaganda has its limits. It probably worked during the Soviet era because information flow was limited. Now you are in an era in which Nobody has to be convinced because the minister said it. Nobody has to be convinced because a lawyer has said it. They've got the right to form their own opinion. That's the difference between then and now. So you have to be mindful of the psyche of the people now.
And in your opinion, what is the psyche of the people right now?
From the questions about that have been raised, they think this is being done in bad faith. And I can tell you this: UPND may succeed, take this round. They say that we have the numbers. Yes, you may have the numbers, but this is just a temporary success. The next government will tear this up. Is that what you want? Is that why you're expending your breath on? Surely you want something that is going to be a legacy. HH must be looking for a legacy after he is gone out of that office. And his legacy, in my view, is in economic development. It's not anchored in this constitution. HH will be remembered that we had a president who found a floundering economy. He did his best to bring back that economy onto its feet. Yes, he had limited, opportunities to do that. They will read HH's good faith in the economic development of this country and nothing else. They want to remember him for the roads which he didn't construct. They want to remember him for the roads that he has constructed. Even next year, the question for the voter next year, Patricia, will not be how many roads HH has constructed. It will not be how many roads he has not constructed. It will be only how has he bettered my life. That will be the question of the voter in that booth. How has HH bettered my life? You have an issue now of energy. This energy crisis that we are facing is not of HH's making. It has a historical context to it. UNIP invested very little in energy. MMD invested very little in the energy sector. The population has been growing. The demand for energy has grown with a very limited infrastructure. That is HH's challenge, not the constitution in my view. So this issue that, this is ZESCO's fault. It is not the fault of ZESCO. ZESCO is trying to deal with a historical, problem.
State Council, the problem there is with the promise that was made for election.
Yes.
The historic we understand.
So if
but people are hung. They are clinging. This is what people hold on to.
How many women have divorced or men have divorced because they promised to buy you a car, a Mercedes Benz, and now they've just bought you a car.com? How many women have divorced as a result of that? Yes. They will just say, but anyway, maisha ko naka.com narapembera mukamonenga mukashita Benz. You don't go to divorce. So yes, there are a lot of promises that were made by UPND. What I expect UPND to do now is to explain their promises within the historical context of the reality now,
and to keep working to make it
and to keep working and give hope. Human beings live on the basis of hope. If Michael, my boy there, you yourself did not have any hope that tomorrow will wake up alive, would not commit suicide today. The reason why we're talking like this is because we are hopeful that tomorrow will be alive. Next week, we can even say to each other, see you next week. Because we are hopeful that next week, both of you and I will be alive. So human beings live on the basis of hope. What they want to see efforts made by HH that tomorrow will be better.
Very quickly, in State Council, because in the beginning you went through the various attempts at amending, and even when they started off as repealing, but ended up as amending
yes.
the Constitution. And you said that the problem throughout starting with the Chona,
Commission.
Manakatwe,
Yes.
Mungomba, Mvunga, and then there was the starter effort and the ECL effort. The problem with all of these, you said, is that they have never come from the people.
Yes.
So, how does a constitutional repeal or amendment come from the people? By what process, if not by the process used already?
Just repeat that.
You said that all these attempts, they flounder and we keep changing because they don't come from deep the desires of the people.
Yes.
They come from those who are governing them or who are in office at a particular time. So how can an amendment come from the dreams, the desires, the beliefs of the ordinary people? By what process, if not by what is done already?
No, the process must be consultative. Again, history has lessons for this. When the Americans, were moving from a confederation, to the union of 50 states now. Okay? The confederation that time had only 13 states. 13. And they decided they were going to go to send delegates, not everybody, but delegates to Philadelphia to go and debate and formulate a constitution. Out of the 13 states, 11 attended that conference. The other 2 states were too poor to raise money for transport for their delegates. But what they did was, and even before I get to that, this group that met at in Philadelphia was not a special group. This issue that lawyers are the ones that understand things, this one, there were 2-3 lawyers, farmers, industrialists, and so it was representative of the various interest groups. When they finished that, they got that document, took it back to the people's representatives in the Confederate, to their national assemblies to go and debate and win the confidence. Because these people had spoken to the people, they were in consultation with the people as to what kind of country the United States of America should be. India is another example. The British didn't give a constitution to the Indians. The Indians decided to constitute a constituent assembly. If you read the debates in that constituent assembly of Nehru, and his colleagues, they were simply answering a question: what kind of country do we want? We want a democratic India. We want a secular India. Okay? And those ideas, when they were translated into the constitution, have made India stand up to those ideas. It is still secular. It is the largest democracy in the country, in the world in terms of population. Again, because the people that constituted that assembly were speaking in the interest of the people and representing the people.
So, Council, as we close our discussion, where does the responsibility lie? Who has the honors to make whatever attempt we are going to do next truly people-driven? Where is this force?
The government,
where is it going to come from?
The governments must say, again, let's go back to 2006. In 2006, one of the problems that Levy's NCC had was that people said, you have already, worked out this. There are more, government officials, composed as delegates in the NCC than otherwise. So you have put an inbuilt majority that even when it comes to voting, the government will have its way. Bad faith. They read bad faith. That's not what Levy meant, but they read bad faith in the process. Okay? So, and bad faith, Patricia, is about perception. Don't try to convince me. You'll be wasting your time. If I've formed an opinion and sincerely hold on to it, that what you are doing is being done in bad faith, you are wasting your time to convince me. You can bring all the panels that you want. I'll just look away. So those that are in power must do that. In 2011, when Anil Silungu and the group came to Microsoft and said, we are not going to do it your way, we want to go back to the people. We want to go and hold district conventions and provincial conventions so that the people, if they want, they can repeat themselves what they said, from 1973. Microsoft said, go ahead. He said, go ahead. Let's get, what the people want. In this particular one, where are the people? That's the question.
And so,
where are the people who have spoken?
And so, State Council, in my closing question, so if you were sitting where President Parker in the Hichilema is sitting today, what would you do today?
I would abandon the process. I would abandon the process and concentrate on the real issues that are on hand. That's what I would do. And that's my sincere piece of advice and contribution to this debate.
And on that note, I want to thank all of you who have been listening to this very, very, very instructive interview. My guest this morning was Economic Fund President Wynter State Council, and we were looking at the proposed constitutional amendments and how they affect us and how they speak to us as Zambians. I will not belabor what the State Council has said, and only to say, until the next time, thank you so much for coming, State Council.
Thank you, Millennium Radio. Thank you, PC.
Good morning.
Always a pleasure.
When you advertise with Millennium Radio,